Toyota Corolla is one of the longest running and best selling nameplates in the industry. It has been on sale here since 1966, although it went away for a bit in 2008. Corolla had become synonymous with boring cars, so Toyota replaced it with the Toyota Auris, which was equally great. Available as a sedan or hatchback, the Corolla competes against the Honda Civic, Mazda 3, the Hyundai i30, and of course the Volkswagen Golf. Now, 12th generation Corollas are everywhere in Europe, and it's easy to forget what a sharp-looking, handsome car it is, looking rather trim in a world of SUVs. A facelift in 2023 introduced a few worthwhile technical improvements. Now Toyota has brought in some more updates for 2025, and we are most intrigued by the new hybrid setup, which lowers the power of the 2-liter configuration. And let's have a closer look. The driver's seat in the Toyota Corolla places you higher up than in a Seat Leon and offers a decent amount of support and a reasonably generous range of movement, including height and powered lumbar adjustment on all trims. You shouldn't have any problems getting comfy. It's not perfect through. The steering wheel adjusts for height and reach but doesn't slide in or out as far as in some rivals. What's more, while the front seats in many family cars have a wheel that allows you to fine-tune the angle of the backrest, the Corolla has a lever that offers a limited number of angles. Regardless of trim level, you will find a 12.3-inch digital driver's display behind the steering wheel. It's similar to the screen in the Volkswagen Golf, but requires a lot more button pressing to switch between the various strip, media, and hybrid system displays, so it's not an easy to use while you are driving. More positively, and unlike in the Golf, you get proper buttons and dials for the air condition system. The Corolla skinny windscreen pillars mean you have a good view of the road ahead and out of the side windows at junctions. The view out of the back is more restricted by chunky rear pillars. You get a better view out of the rear of a Skoda Scala, for example. But every Corolla has a rear view camera and front and rear parking sensors to help you when you are reversing. Powerful LED headlights are fitted as standard. In some rivals, you have to pay extra or upgrade to a post-trim level to get those. Let's start with the positives. The Corolla 10.5-inch infotainment touchscreen is positioned high on the dashboard, making it easy to see and reach, and responds relatively quickly when you tap around the menus. On the minus side, the screen resolution isn't hugely impressive, and the graphics for the standard navigation system are rather basic. The menu layout is mostly intuitive, but some of the sub-menus could be easier to find. As a result, it's still some way behind the best systems in the family car class. Thankfully, all Corollas come with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay smartphone mirroring, so you can bypass the Toyota software for a better experience. You also get DAB radio and Bluetooth, while the standard 6-speaker stereo is clear and punchy. Entry-level icon is our recommended trim for the Corolla because it comes with everything you need, including power folding and heated door mirrors, automatic LED headlights, dual zone climate control, adaptive cruise control, heated front seats, and 16-inch alloy wheels. You'll need to upgrade to design trim if you want rain sensing wipers as well as 17-inch alloy wheels, some ambient lighting, and auto dimming rear view mirror and privacy glass. The range topping XL trim and the sportier style GR Sport add more goodies but are too expensive for us to recommend. Testers from Euro NCAP gave the Corolla 5 stars out of 5 for safety, although it's important to note that the test procedure is more stringent today than when it was appraised in 2019. There are plenty of active safety aids to help you avoid a collision in the first place, including automatic emergency braking, lane departure warning, traffic sign recognition, and automatic high beam assistance for the headlights. The only notable aid that isn't available across the range is blind spot monitoring, which is reserved for the top spec XL. As for security, all versions of the Corolla come with an alarm and immobilizer as standard. Infotainment has long been Toyota Achilles heel. It muddled along with a painfully dated system for a long time, only to replace it with an interface that takes a few steps forwards but a few steps back as well. From 2025, all trims get a 10.5-inch touchscreen powered by Toyota's own Smart Connect Plus system. In short, the screen is not great and is the biggest letdown of the Corolla's habit. Response time is slow, the menu is fluffy to navigate, and compared to rivals like Kia, the technology feels a generation behind. Moreover, there is no home screen combining media and navigation, and it loses its physical controls apart from the volume. While it is compatible with Android Auto wired and Apple CarPlay wireless, the screen's shortcut bar disappears when those applications are in use, which means you need to navigate additional menus to access the screen settings. The Corolla also gets a 12.3-inch digital instrument cluster. It has never been the prettiest, most configurable, or clearest interface on the market, but for the most part, it has always been largely inoffensive. It has a modern and clear interface that allows for more personalization than the system that went before. The biggest annoyance, however, is that some vehicle settings, including some of the driver's assistance systems, need to be adjusted in a clunky interface that's full of impenetrable abbreviations. Other car makers, such as Volkswagen, have all this on the central screen, which is much easier to use. Every Corolla comes with a basic Toyota Safety Sense package, which includes emergency braking, adaptive cruise control with lane following, and road sign recognition. However, in order to get two of the more useful systems, blind spot monitoring and rear cross traffic alert, you need to upgrade to XL, the most expensive trim. The systems that are fitted as standard are some of the best on the market. The adaptive cruise control is smooth, alert, and not prone to slowing down for cars that aren't there. You won't struggle to fit in the front of the Corolla even if you are really tall. The front seats slide back a long way, and although some family cars have a bit more headroom, you are unlikely to feel hemmed in. The Corolla is also broad enough inside to keep some space between you and your passenger. Disappointing is probably the best way to describe rear space in the Corolla. While the Ford Focus and Seat Leon are remarkably roomy in the back, the Corolla feels cramped for anyone approaching 6 feet tall, especially if they are sitting behind someone similarly tall. You wouldn't call head or legroom impressive, and the sloping ceiling adds a bit of claustrophobic feel compared to rivals, made worse by the wide front sport seat in top trim models. If you'll often have passengers in the back, it's worth considering the more accommodating estate version, the Toyota Corolla Touring Sports. The Corolla rear seats don't recline or do anything else particularly clever, but neither do the ones in the main family car rivals. You can fold down the rear seats in a 60-40 split, which is pretty standard across the class. If you need a decent boot, be careful which Corolla you buy. Luggage capacity depends on the engine. The 1.0-liter model can take 6 carry-on suitcases in its 361-liter boot. That's a match for the Seat Leon and one more case than the Volkswagen Golf, although there are small cars with bigger boots, including the Renault Clio and Skoda Fabia. The 2-liter Corolla has just 313 liters of boot space, which is less than a Volkswagen Polo. That's because its larger engine means there is not enough space for the car's 12-volt battery under the bonnet, so Toyota has put it under the boot floor instead. The back seats are split 40-60, which will likely please owners in the left-hand drive markets than in the UK because of the greater through loading flexibility it grants them. The Corolla is available with either a 1.0-liter or 2-liter fuel hybrid engines. Both work with the same concept that's familiar from Toyota hybrids. A naturally aspirated four-cylinder petrol engine works together with two electric motors in a planetary gear set. The larger electric motor drives the ring gear and therefore the wheels directly. Because the smaller electric motor drives the sun gear, it can act both as a starter generator for the engine and make the whole gear set function as a continuously variable transmission by spinning faster or slower. Technically, the engines remain unchanged. They are Atkinson cycle units in all hybrid Corollas. The drive battery is located under the rear seat where it doesn't intrude into the boot space. However, due to the 2-liter engine being physically larger, its lower voltage 12-volt battery has to live in the boot, where it does it into the load volume. You can argue with the 2 liters fuel economy either. In our test saw a combined figure of 4.65 liter per 100 kilometer, and that is easily achievable in the real world. Efficiency is particularly impressive around town. So, if that's where you spend most of your time, you might get even better consumption. The Corolla uses the TNGA platform, which underpins most of the Toyota range and has proven to be capable of spawning efficient and pleasant handling cars. Certainly, the Corolla has all the right ingredients compared with its predecessor. It has a 10 mm lower center of gravity and a body that it is 60% more rigid. It's blessed with a multi-link rear axle, which nowadays is quite unusual in the hatchback class. Fancy a bit of pampering? Well, forget the spa and buy yourself a Corolla instead. It's one of the most comfortable models in the family car class. Even against the very comfy Focus, the Corolla's softer suspension means that it smooths off the rough edges of road ridges better and fidgets less on patchy sections of motorway. The trade-off is that its body moves around a little more along undulating roads, but it's still better tied down than the Peugeot 308 and other rivals. We would recommend avoiding the bigger 18-inch alloy wheels fitted to GR Sport and top trims too. They don't completely ruin the ride, but you'll notice a difference over sharp road imperfections. When you are driving normally, you will find that the Corolla is a fine handling car. The steering is precise and its weight builds in a progressive manner, starting light for city driving and ending up with a reassuring heft. there is a reasonable amount of feedback streaming to your hands. There is also a decent feeling of composure at faster speeds. However, the Corolla isn't keen to tuck its nose into bends as a Focus Civic or even a Mazda 3, and runs out of front-end grip soon. If driving thrills are your thing, you will be even better served elsewhere. The design manages to be dynamic and sleek without being remotely polarizing. Its bottom might jut out in the manner of the old Renault Megane, but sitting 40 mm longer, 30 mm wider, and 25 mm less lofty than the car it replaces, and with smaller overhangs, the proportions are there. Size-wise, it's right in the middle of the segment, being slightly longer than a Volkswagen Golf, but quite a bit shorter than the latest Honda Civic. The latest Corolla arrived at a vital point for family car buyers. That's because the Corolla's hybrid engines make it an ideal solution for drivers who don't want a diesel, find petrol too inefficient, and are not ready for an electric car. One benefit of hybrid cars is that they are usually hatched where you are puttling around town because the electric motor can manage on its own in stop-start traffic. The Corolla is no exception, making virtually silent progress. Even when the petrol engine cuts in to assist, it doesn't spoil the peace too much. On faster roads, especially going uphill, the engine roars a bit because the CVT automatic gearbox causes revs to soar during moderate to hard acceleration. Thankfully, since the Corolla was updated with more powerful electric motors, it doesn't need to rev as highly to get up to speed. That said, the hybrid system in the Honda Civic is even more resistant to rev flares. You hear a bit more tire roll on motorways than in a Ford Focus, but the Corolla is a quiet cruiser on the Seat level. The 2-liter hybrid is better than the 1.8 at isolating you from the outside world thanks to its acoustic side glass. When you get behind the wheel of Corolla, you might initially feel a bit underwhelmed. The design is restrained, conventional, and, dare to say, even slightly old-fashioned. Fortunately, when you start touching things, you realize Toyota has used high-quality materials that are screwed together in a way that puts most family cars to shame. It doesn't quite match Audi or BMW products, but then those, it is arguably a greater challenge to set up the suspension of a relatively affordable mainstream hatchback, one that needs to appeal to interested and disinterested drivers alike, than it is to set up a hardcore sports car for a money, no object luxury car. Toyota got it pretty spot for the Corolla. Whatever the colleagues in the powertrain department were likely to achieve, Toyota chassis engineers were clearly never going to be the reason why the Corolla missed its ambitions to force its way in among the more dynamically gifted cars in this class. You'll tell that much pretty clearly having negotiated your very first proper corner in the car and quite possibly having simply driven it off the dealer forecourt, judging by how harmoniously the component parts of its handling come together and how intuitive and easy to drive it is as a result. The Corolla has the kind of chassis that seems to create very credible lateral grip and cornering balance and a crispness of handling response and tidy closeness of body control without working for it. It's probably one of the more softly sprung cars in its class, and yet it handles very impressively anyway, with steering that matches directness, weight and a bit of feel very skillfully, and a chassis that stays flatter than you imagine it grips and rotates underneath you in more agile fashion than you are anticipating, but also remains entirely predictable at all times and goes where it's pointed very obediently. The relatively soft suspension means that this hatchback doesn't beat you up over rough roads either. That said, we have noticed an appreciable difference between the hatchback we have tested and a GR Sport trim with 18-inch wheels. The 16-inch items on entry-level Icon trim will be a good compromise. Whichever version you go for, you get plushy padded seats that are very comfortable. On more expensive versions, they'll be electrically adjustable, but even on the lowly van, they have heated and have adjustable lumbar support. Taller drivers may wish for a tilting cushion, but even as is, they'll be less archy after a long drive in a Corolla than in many more expensive cars. The one thing that might start to annoy you on long journeys is the road noise. It's by no means bad, but the best rivals do better than the Corolla's 70 decibels at 110 kilometers an hour. It's a regular hybrid rather than a plug-in hybrid, so you don't need to charge it up to get the best out of it. A small battery, which is topped up when you use the brakes, powers an electric motor that lends the petrol engine a helping hand to improve efficiency and performance. And if you are really gentle, the Corolla can drive on battery power alone for short distances. As part of a midlife update, the Toyota Corolla's entry-level 1.0-liter engine gained a healthy lift in power to 138 horsepower with a 0 to 100 time of 9.1 seconds. It's quicker than the cheapest 114 horsepower 1.5-liter engine in the Volkswagen Golf, and while it's half a second slower than the more powerful 1.0-liter EcoBoost 155 Ford Focus. That's not really a problem. Why? Well, the 1.0 Corolla has more than enough performance for everyday driving and gets up to motorway speeds without you needing to mash the accelerator into the carpet. Indeed, the only time you might wish for a little more is when you need to overtake a dawdling motorist and you have got a car packed to the rafters with people and luggage. For those situations, the Brownier 190 horsepower 2-liter has you covered, dropping the 0 to 100 sprint time to 7.4 seconds, faster than any Honda Civic except the Type R. Even when your foot is flat to the floor, the increased power from the Corolla's electric motor makes it satisfyingly snappier to your demands in normal driving. You can't argue with the 1.8 Corolla's fuel economy either. The real consumption test saw a combined figure of 4.65 liters per 100 kilometers, and that's easily achievable in the real world. Efficiency is particularly impressive around town, so if that's where you spend most of your time, you might get even better consumption. The Corolla is hybrid only, and you have the choice of 1.8-liter and 2-liter petrol engines paired with an electric motor and a standard CVT automatic gearbox. There is no plug-in hybrid version, unlike with some of its key family hatchback rivals, such as the Opel Astra, Peugeot 308 and Volkswagen Golf. The latest Honda Civic is perhaps the Corolla's most direct rival now, having also gone all on hybrid power for the 11th generation model. The electric side of the Corolla's powertrain was also reworked as a part of the car's mid-life update, with the old battery being replaced by a redesigned, lighter lithium-ion unit that's more energy dense, meaning it weighs 14% less yet delivers 13% more power. It supplies an electric motor that offers more torque, thus creating the 5th generation of Toyota's hybrid technology. When the engines work really hard, it still makes a loud drone because the CVT transmission causes the revs to rise at a rate that doesn't match the road speed. However, the extra electrical assistance of facelift models means this rev spike occurs less frequently than before. At low speeds, silent EV mode makes for relaxing progress. Refinement is such that when the petrol engine does kick in, it's fairly unobtrusive when trundling around town. If you spend the majority of your time on congested streets, the Corolla will prove very easy to live with. Regenerative braking also takes a bit of effort out of stop-start traffic, but we found the system to be a bit too unpredictable at times. Toyota hasn't confirmed yet if they will offer the Fury GR Corolla in Germany, but despite its self-charging hybrid powertrain and CVT automatic gearbox, the regular Corolla is a sportier car than you might think. There is more good news for driving enthusiasts too, as the updated model rides and handles surprisingly well. The updated Corolla feels more refined too. There is not as much of the droning you used to get from the older CVTs, and although it hasn't been completely eradicated, the benefit is quieter cruising. Toyota has also made some tweaks so the throttle response is much more direct now. Acceleration on the whole is brisk enough. Both the 1.8-liter and the 2-liter powertrains provide enough grunt to get up to motorway speeds with little fuss. Some software tweaks also allow the facelifted car's engine to run at lower revs at a cruise, making the Corolla a quieter long-distance companion than pre-updated models aside from a bit of tire roar. All-around visibility is good, with a large glass house and relatively high-set driver's seat making for a good view out. There is an impressive list of onboard safety equipment as standard, including automatic headlights, adaptive cruise control, reversing camera, lane departure warning, and Toyota's lane trace system, plus a driver attention alert system. But you can never have enough safety tech, it seems, because Toyota added even more as part of the Corolla's mid-life facelift. The biggest addition was a Toyota Teammate, which combines the latest version of the brand Safety Sense setup with other active driving and parking assistance systems. Higher spec XL versions also get, among other systems, a safe exit assist that will trigger a warning to stop passengers from opening a door into the path of a vehicle or cyclist. Toyota has perfected its hybrid powertrain over the years. It's still fundamentally a CVT, so neither the 1.8 or the 2-liter is what you would call exciting. But both have enough grunt that you don't have to rack them to make some progress. Naturally, they are capable of excellent economy, they are generally quiet, and the gearbox is perfectly smooth. The very modest 2025 updates to the Corolla haven't changed a lot. This is still a good choice for the frugal-minded family buyer, offering good fuel returns and a comfortable and relatively spacious cabin. It's also very easy to drive. If you are after premium sheen, the faux leather, Glad range topping XL trim may be enough for you, but across the rest of the range the Corolla's interior feels rather and dated, albeit indestructible. Moreover, the multimedia system is rudimentary at best and feels about 5 years old. Like most Toyotas, the Corolla comes with 3 years of guarantee as standard, but it gains another year or 50,000 kilometers every time you take it to a Toyota dealer for its annual service, up to 10 years and then 160,000 kilometers. For the hybrid battery, that can go up to 15 years, and given that Toyota and Lexus tend to top the reliability surveys, you are unlikely to need that guarantee very much. That's longer cover than you get from any other car maker except Lexus, although Kia offers 7 years. The Corolla isn't the hottest, most exciting, or trendiest thing around, but there is something very pleasantly fit for purpose about it. It's the right size for European roads, and while the hatchback isn't excessively roomy, the estate version takes care of that. The Corolla also takes advantage of its relatively low weight and height to deliver a near perfectly judged balance of freight and handling.